What's up, Sooner Nation? We watched the Alamo Bowl and we looked and we evaluated exactly what the Oklahoma Sooners need to do this offseason to address some of the holes on this team and make it better going into the SEC. Today, we got to talk about some transfer portal targets that could be on Oklahoma's radar. And again, talk about some guys that we need to hit the portal. But before we do that, before we jump into it, guys, thank you for tuning into the PG Show where we talk about all things college football. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Shoot, you've probably seen my show a couple times. And if you have and I keep showing up in your feed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me anyways. It just helps me out. All right. We got to talk about this transfer portal deal because it's alive and it is well. And I believe it closes on January 3rd. So the close date for non-grad transfers is quickly approaching. And Oklahoma, listen, they have been a victim to the transfer portal this year. And although you've lost maybe one guy that you maybe didn't expect to lose in Caden Green, mostly everybody else that you've lost, they've listen, the writing's been on the wall. And I'll add Dalen Smothers to that list of guys you didn't expect either. That one kind of took a lot of people by surprise. But most recently, you had Caden Green committing to Missouri. Aaron Parks entered on December 15th. Davis Bevel entered on December 23rd, and LV Bunkley Shelton entered on December 26th after the bowl game. Davis Bevel obviously was suited up and on the sidelines as well, so he was being a very good sport about it, and it was nice to see him on the roster. And this is what I like, right? I like to see the kids that say, hey, yeah, like I'm going to enter my name into the portal, but I'm still going to finish out the season with the current team that I'm with because I know that they still need me at least at some level for depth. And going into the transfer portal, the first thing that we have to talk about is the quarterback position because Caden or Davis Bevel hitting the transfer portal has obviously, it hasn't shaken up the roster a whole lot just because he didn't play. But Casey Thompson is a guy that he's been thrown around as a target for Oklahoma. And talking to a couple people, I'm hearing that this is pretty much a done deal at this point for Casey Thompson to be at Oklahoma. They're just trying to finalize a couple things. So unless something just completely comes out of left field, it sounds like Casey Thompson is going to be in an Oklahoma uniform. Probably as a PWO, not going to be a scholarship, and there's no point to waste the scholarship there. It sounds like Casey Thompson has post-career aspirations that are just not solely playing football. Additionally, Toby Walker, who entered the portal, finished out, played in the bowl game for Oklahoma, and then literally the next day ended up committing to Wisconsin. Yes, Wisconsin. And got themselves a good back. And listen, if you're familiar with what Wisconsin does, kind of fits. Toby Walker fits Wisconsin. Toby Walker this season had 102 total carries for 513 yards. Didn't have a single touchdown this year on the receiving side, but had 7 touchdowns on the rushing side. So Toby Walker didn't do too well in the bowl game, but hey, you know what? If you're Oklahoma, you're going to take it. All right, we got to hit some defensive line targets. Defensive line. And the first one that I'm going to start out with is Nick Scorton. And you might say, well, PG, because I guess that's what y'all want to call me. Nick Scorton, isn't he going to end up at A&M? A&M's heavy lean there. For those of you who aren't familiar, Nick Scorton is a edge trainer. I guess he's listed as a linebacker, but he's played edge at the University of Purdue. Had a super, super productive season. Let me go ahead and pull it up for you guys here. All right. As you guys can see here, it's really, really productive season. 50 total tackles, 33 solos, 10 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 3 pass breakups. So you might be saying, well, hey, like he is from that area. Isn't it likely that he's going to end up at A&M? Listen, I talked to Nick Scorton and specifically asked him about Oklahoma. And basically what I was told is if the offer was to show up, there's going to be some heavy interest there. Now, Yes, obviously, I think you would probably favor Texas A&M. You're going to favor schools like that are just throwing around the bags because Nick Scorton, he's a guy that's going to demand that kind of money. He's just that good. But Oklahoma, I don't think is out of it here as much as what you're hearing across the board. So keep your eyes on Nick Scorton. That's one that maybe potentially you didn't have your eyes on or weren't focusing on too much that you need to be focusing on now. Now, the other edge rusher that we got to talk about, or defensive line prospect, is Caden Woolard. Caden Woolard, Jr. out of Miami of Ohio. I believe he's going to have 2 years of eligibility left. Had 41 total tackles this previous season, 19 solos, 9.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 pass breakup. The season before that, 29 total tackles, 14 solos, 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 3 pass breakups. And then obviously his freshman year, he didn't play too much. But Caden Woolard is a guy that, Missouri wants him, A&M wants him, Florida wants him, Oklahoma wants him. A lot of top schools have won him. I've even heard Larry Johnson in Ohio State might have reached out to him. I have not seen that confirmed, but that's what I've heard. So Caden Woolard is an interesting one. And as you guys can see here, the 247 Sports Transfer Portal account tweeted that there's massive interest from him, which is what we just talked about, but he's set to take a visit to Oklahoma next week. And you would imagine if Miguel Chavis and this staff get Caden Woolard on campus with the previous production that he's had, he's probably going to end up being a Sooner. I don't see that dragging out too long. Now, the question is, what does this mean for other defensive line prospects, guys that we've talked about here many times, right? Like Anton Junkaj. Well, at this point, I'm not really expecting Anton Junkaj to end up in an Oklahoma uniform. Obviously, you lost Chris McClellan to Missouri, the Florida transfer, and I don't really think there's any other top defensive line prospects in the transfer portal currently that Oklahoma's just kind of dying and salivating to go out there and try to land. Obviously, before January 3rd, you're looking at Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy from Texas A&M. You're looking at David Hicks from Texas A&M. That's kind of been the target that we've talked about all season, all year last year, and kind of this whole offseason as well, right? Hey, is David Hicks going to hit the portal? If he does, you'd favor Oklahoma. So, but again, if David Hicks hits the transfer portal, that's one where you would have to imagine he's going to get probably equivalent interest to what Walter Nolan got when he hit the portal, right? David Hicks is just that good. So you're going to have to fight a lot of top tier programs across college football off for that kid. So, and it's not even a guarantee that he's going to hit the portal, right? At this point, I don't expect David Hicks to hit the portal, but nothing's written in stone. So those are some quick transfer portal updates. Not a whole lot going on right now. I think you're going to see Oklahoma target some offensive linemen probably in the spring. I know there's a couple guys that just hit literally as I'm recording this. So we'll have to see where Oklahoma is going to go with those guys. One from Florida. And, I believe there was one from Grambling State that is officially in the portal. So we'll want to keep an eye on those guys, but I'm not there yet. Not there yet. So, guys, if you have not already, go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe button. And if you have not already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Join the discussion by jumping in the comments